opportunity for Charlotte off the set piece. It is going to be the man out of Poland. The shot, yes! And it's gone in. It's an Olympico. Yoshiki pulls it back. The shot, and another goal. And look who's coming on. Ryan Romero. Here's Romero. Hit the shot, kid. Goal! For the city, for the crown.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Offsides Podcast, the unofficial official podcast of Charlotte Football Club. As always, I'm your host, Andres Robledo, and I'm joined another week by my co-host, Pablo Robledo. Pablo, how's the week been?
Emotional damage.
Yeah, that's to say the least. We were riding quite a high there, weren't we?
Yeah. Sometimes we good, sometimes we not so good.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. So I think a little bit of news we can talk about. Don't remember if we mentioned it last week, but just to recap, Justin Moran was traded to Charlotte FC from Real Salt Lake. They traded, I think, $200K in general allocation money this year, and I think another $100K next year, something like that. So we gave them some general allocation money. And the other bit of team news is that Nuno Santos has officially been loaned out to Crown Legacy. So don't expect him to be with the first team anytime soon. There's definitely more to that story, at least from what I've heard online. So we'll just have to wait to see if the club makes any announcements about that or what. But definitely a story brewing up about Nuno Santos and Andre Shinyashiki. So we'll keep you guys up to date once we find out more. Yeah.
I thought those guys could come back and forth. So he's just like 100% Crown Legacy now.
Yeah. So from what I've heard, it's some kind of disciplinary issue from the club to Santos, and same with Shinyashiki, which is why he is basically just not involved with Charlotte at all. That's why they were trying to trade him. And like we mentioned before, he's being investigated. I don't know what that really means or about what. The club hasn't talked about it at all. So he's being investigated by the MLS and Charlotte FC. And from what I have heard, the Santos loan to Crown Legacy is basically like a punishment by association. Like he was, I guess, somewhat involved in what Andre did, but not as involved or something. I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of weird things, but basically It's just like a punishment. So I expect those guys to be.
Is like the,
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say the Crown Legacy is like the getting sent to your room.
Yeah, it's basically like parole. And I expect
TV.
I expect both those guys to not be a part of Charlotte by the end of summer.
Probably.
Which is unfortunate. It was actually funny because Santos started last night for Crown Legacy and also scored. They beat New York City FC 2 4-1. So Crown Legacy are they're basically like the PSG of MLS Next Pro.
Well, at least somebody's winning.
Yeah. So, like we said, once we learn more, we'll definitely update everyone. It'll probably be like 2 days after everyone else has already seen it, but if you get your
Yeah, man, you gotta break it here first.
Yeah. But other than that, no real news on my end. Pablo, anything you got to add?
No. That's all I got.
Nice.
Which was nothing.
Keeping your ear close to the ground. Investigative journalism. Well, then let's just jump right into the frustration that was the DC United versus Charlotte game. We were coming on, like we said, we're coming off a pretty big high. Back-to-back wins, a big win against Columbus Crew, the 1-0 win at home, and then a dominating win against Tormenta on the Tuesday, which we covered in last week's episode. And, just felt like that momentum was going to keep going. But it did not, a year later, and we still lose to DC United 3-0 in their stadium. What'd you think of
Yeah.
that result?
Well, I mean, it looked like we had it under control. It looked like things were kind of going our way. Um, I would say for the better half of the first half, we were dominating the game. Um, the ref was calling it our way a good bit, which
Yeah,
was kind of I don't know, uncommon, especially for an away team. We had a couple of little shot attempts. No, I don't think any shots on goal. So just up until that PK, I mean, it looked like everything was. It was just a matter of time before we put one in the back of their net.
yeah. One thing I did
But
want to touch on that I thought was pretty funny. So, as everyone knows, or maybe if you're a new fan, our first official game was against DC United at their stadium. And this was the starting lineup for that game. Up top, we had Ortiz, no longer with the club. And then out wide, we had Jordi Reyna, no longer with the club. In the middle, Alan Franco, no longer with the club. Brant Bronico and Mackenzie Gaines, somehow both still with the club. Joseph Mora, still with the club. Christian Fuchs, retired. Macoun went to New England. Carujo, injured. Lindsay, benched. And Kalina, benched. So only two guys that started last game also played in this game, and it's only been a little over a year. Quite interesting to say the least. I mean, this is
yeah, that's
basically
quite a change.
a do-over year one, if you want to look at it that way and make yourselves feel better.
It was kind of hard to. New pieces, same results.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can actually go back and look at DC starting lineup, and it's also all pretty much brand new players as well. But interesting to see what Wayne Rooney has done when in his rebuild compared to what Latanzio has done.
Well, I think going into this game, it was also like, we're two, I would say, pretty evenly matched teams as far as, I guess, stats and maybe talent. And it was just to see like which one was going to come out on top and truly be dominant. And I really thought it was just going to be us by the way we were performing. And like you said, we were coming off of like a 2-win streak there. But it was just odd. On the lineup, I meant to ask you, you think not having Yazviak and Tulioma hurt us, or
Definitely the
no
Yazviak
change?
one. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Gaines is a poor replacement for Yazviak, who has been playing very well, and he's had a goal or assist in the last 3 or 4 games. So and he's also been like one of the main players who drives the ball from midfield into the attacking third, like with his dribbling. Similar. I mean, Gaines did similar things, but his just decision making is not as good as Yazwiak's. His crossing's not as good. He just never finds anyone with it, or just tries to cut in and does like a poor pass, or just runs into someone. I mean, honestly, it's a lot of the same criticisms we had of Yazwiak at the beginning of the season and all last year, but at least he's turned it around. I mean, Gaines seems to have gone the other way and just gotten worse and worse. I'm not sure what's going on there. But the Tulioma one, I thought Derek Jones played, as good, if not better, at center back than Tulioma did. I think the Tulioma thing that hurts is having Jones play at center back instead of center defensive mid to back up Swiderski and Westwood. Seeing Westwood come back into the lineup, he was definitely like passing the ball around a lot better. He was finding the ball over the top a little bit. And if it could have been a midfield of like Westwood, Swiderski, Jones, I think maybe things could have gone differently. But who knows, right? I just feel like I mentioned this online. I feel like Brant Bronica's just become the weak link in that midfield, and he's never going to give you like a bad game, but I don't think he's ever going to be the reason you win a game either. He's just kind of like a solid like 6.5 guy out there, and I think he's just kind of reached his his ceiling, as where Jones is, still young and developing. Westwood and Serdarski are clear, like head and shoulders better technical players than him. So it's kind of just that like, that midfield's evolved and changed, and he's kind of just gonna. I would like to see him like kind of be moved to the bench, but we'll see what Latanzio does. I mean, he clearly has his guys who he likes to play and trust, and gives them a ton of minutes. And I think it's hard for Latanzio to like trust other players, which is like something we can talk about with the substitutions. But yeah, that's kind of just. I think that's how the two injuries affected us the most.
It's funny you say that in regards to Brent Bronico and Jones, which I don't necessarily 100% agree. I mean, I think Brent Bronico, like you said, probably isn't going to get much better. There's some room for improvement, but, when he's out there, you don't notice him too much, but he doesn't help the attack that much, and nor the defense. He's just kind of out there.
Yeah.
But I think Jones, I thought this was probably his worst game yet.
Really?
And that's, yeah, just because, like, I mean, I get that he's playing defense and he's playing that center back position, but it was like, I don't know if that forward for DC was just kind of getting in his head, but he was getting, like, very physical with some of these players. Like, you think after the PK he would have kind of learned his lesson a little bit, but he was still just, like, putting guys on the ground for just unnecessary reasons. Like, he had another one that went down in the box that I was surprised they didn't call back either.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you go back and look at the scores, he had the worst rating of them all, to include the DC United players. He had a 5.5.
Dang.
And
yeah.
Brent Bronico had a 6.6. But
yeah, but he's gonna get dinged worse because of the goals scored and giving up the PK, which was a super soft PK.
There was also other instances where he was just like double teaming on a guy with Malanda, like, or just covering space instead of like covering guys, and just leaving that right side when they're attacking. They're just leaving that right side a lot of space on that right side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was playing that position too well.
Yeah.
But our options for defenses are thin right now.
Yeah, I think that was definitely. This was like the depth was clearly like an issue that this game highlighted the most, right? Because you're only missing two guys, but one of them being a center back, and you've got no one else really. I mean, you do have Sobocinski on the bench. Like at least right. Latanzio brought him to the bench, but I don't know, to not even like, this would have been the perfect game to at least give him a chance, right?
Exactly.
Start him and see what happens. You can replace him at 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But like, and that's kind of what we were saying, right? Like, Latanzio has the guys he trusts and those who he doesn't, and he would rather play a guy out of position than to play another young center back and give him a chance and put some trust and faith in him.
You think the score would have been a lot worse if Sobocinski was in it?
No. I don't think it would have been worse than 3-0. I mean, this is like the worst it could have been, right? I think like anytime we've seen Sobocinski play, it's been pretty good. I don't recall like a really bad game from him. He's looked good at Crown Legacy. When he played Open Cup games last season, he looked good. And I think Latanzio just has an issue with playing two young center backs, because I think Sobocinski's like 22, Malanda's like 20, but I think Derek Jones is only like 24, 25, so it's not really that much more like experienced, especially when you're playing him in his not natural position. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's hard to understand Latanzio's thought process and logic behind it, but he clearly just sees things his way and is going to kind of just do it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think I think just looking at it, I think this was probably Jones's worst game so far.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair, right?
I
He
mean,
picked up a
Trubisky's looking
yellow.
at, he's only 24 years old, and Jones is 26, so not too big of a gap there.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was 22 and 24. So 24, 26, yeah,
Yeah.
same thing then, really. So, I mean, that's even.
I just don't think he trusts him.
Yeah. And without seeing like what they do on the training ground or in scrimmages, it's hard to like see why. But the games that we have seen him play in, I think he's been solid, you know. But I don't know. It's not up to us to make the
Sure.
lineup, but I mean, yeah, I can live with the take that this was Jones's worst game. I mean, again, he's playing out of position. He played there, I think, once or twice during preseason, but the rest of the time he's been playing center defensive mid, and you even saw it during the game, and the announcers were talking about it as well. Like he clearly wanted to like try to get forward and push up more,
Yeah.
just because that's what he was doing as a midfielder, and I think he probably struggled because he was constantly having to think about what he was doing instead of just like naturally playing, which can be exhausting.
Yeah, if I was to make one change, at least on that, I would have put Jones where Bronico is, and then put in Trubisky there.
Yeah, I would
And
have liked
just
to have seen
kind
that.
of let that ride out for a while.
That would have been nice to see, especially like you got Westwood back. Swiderski's
Right.
starting to play a little bit better in that center mid position, especially against Columbus. And Derek Jones has been super solid at that center defensive mid position, and has been really underrated at it. Actually, I think he gets a lot of flack for no reason. So yeah, this would have been the perfect game for that, right? Especially to try to go, steal a point away. But Latanzio does Latanzio things,
Well, and then another thing would be, I would say, is you can't 100% blame Latanzio, because it's like, the defense gets the ball, and we have good, like, we have a lot of depth in the midfield, and they're doing their job getting that ball up there, but it's our attack. It's honestly just non-existent. It's just like we can't finish in the attack, and
Yeah.
this is Capetti's. How many games has he gone now since he scored? He's only had 2 goals
he's
so
had
far.
2 goals. The last one was
That's
against
not a
Orlando,
lot.
right? So that
Yeah,
was the
and
third game, fourth game. So it's been
yeah,
5 or
yeah.
6
The last
games.
one was against Orlando, and
It's been at
not to
least
take
5 or
away
6
from that
games,
goal,
yeah.
but it was a good goal. But it wasn't like that header he had.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one guy I'm starting to like. I think he was just overhyped.
Yeah.
I don't think this formation's truly. I know I keep going back to this, but this formation's just not working out with him at the top.
I think that's the biggest issue is just like we're not playing to his strengths, right? His strength is not to hold the ball up and have your other center mids and wingers run by him and him to play that, ball in behind. His strength is like for our center mids to, play a through ball that breaks the back line for him to chase onto, or to, play good crosses into the box. The crossing thing is tough because like we've done a lot of that, but we've just done it so poorly in like where situations where he's, double teamed, sometimes triple teamed, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's never going to be a good scenario. We need to cross it into the box when he has space, right? Or he can go up for 1v1s. But I think the biggest issue with our attack is like our center mids, they do a good job of like getting out of the midfield into the attacking third. But like once we get it to Copetti or like Vargas or Gaines, they're just always in these like 1v1 situations with no support. Or if they do get support, it's like an overlapping run from the outside back. And even we've actually even seen less of that lately because the outside backs are pinching into the midfield to help, keep possession. But, if you watch it, like a lot of our attacks, Vargas gets it out wide in a 1v1 or Gaines gets it out wide in a 1v1. And there's just so much space between the Charlotte player who has the ball and then the next attacker, unless they go backwards. And I mean, I think that's the reason we end up going back to our back line so much is like the guy gets stuck in a 1v1 and his only outlet is the defender behind him. And it's either that or
he's got no options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if if you watch this DC game, like their outside backs were, getting a ton of space outside and getting the balls in front of them and running onto them and finding space and like just totally playing good counterattacking football. But they also had like a lot of options too. Whenever the outside backs would get the ball, there'd be 2 or 3 guys in the box and another guy running in late, and like we just do not have that. Like it's usually only Capetti in the box, maybe Serdersky or something sometimes, but it's usually just one guy. I think that's like the biggest issue with this system that Lattanzio has them playing is just your center mids are so ineffective in the final third because they're not running into the box late. They're not, trying to get that short pass from the outside.
Or the rebound ball.
Yeah, exactly. They just leave the wingers like so isolated, and it's like they have to win a 1v1 or just cross it into the box and hope something happens. So I don't know what he has to do to fix that, but I'd like to see, whoever the 2 like top center mids are, like how in this game it was Westwood and Serdersky. I just like to see more movement from them and more of like asking for the ball and just moving it around and just creating like numerical advantages, right? Like if you play the ball to Vargas outside, like have Westwood check short to him and also have Awful check short to him, and then he's got 2 different options he can play and only one defender, maybe 2 defenders guarding him instead of just one guy by himself with another defender. Like, and even the announcers for this game were talking about that, especially in the second half, where it was like, yeah, Charlotte have a lot of possession, but they're not doing anything with it. They're not creating any numerical advantages. You can't just have the ball and hope to win the game. You got to create some advantages. If you watch Barcelona play or Man City play, like these other big possession teams, like that's what they do with the ball. They create these numerical advantages and dink it around defenders, and that's how they create the space in the box to find easy goals. And we definitely do not do that.
No, and then the far and few chances that we do, we get countered real easy.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's almost like the Charlotte players are expecting a counter, so they just kind of hang back, and our attack is not developing.
Yeah.
Which I guess would kind of bring us to our first goal. Really is, Jones got a PK that was called thanks to VAR.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a soft foul, but a foul in the box is a foul in the box, which is a PK.
Yeah, this was like one of those PKs where, like, it's super soft and it hurts to get punished by what's essentially going to be like an auto goal, but like like you did foul him in the box, as small as it was, and a foul in the box is a PK, and it's just like one of those things where it's like, man, that's such a soft foul that if it would have happened in the middle of the field, maybe it doesn't even get called, right? But it's in the box. Like, you have to call that. So,
yeah.
I saw a lot of people upset about it, but it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, I mean, that's a PK. Like, there's barely any, like, a lot of people are like, there's barely any contact. Like, he barely touched him. Like, but he touched him, and the guy went down.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the rules.
You said the magic word, and that was it. And at first, it didn't really get called because I'm probably sure the ref probably saw how soft it was, but somebody upstairs made that call, and it's like you just got to go in technicality on this one.
Yeah.
But I did want to kind of cover like how close was Marks to stopping that.
It was close, man. He got a hand on it.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, like unfortunate that it went in. I'm pretty sure most of the people thought it was going to go in, but I didn't think he was going to get a hand on it. So a little bit of props there to Marks just for. Not only guessing right, but almost getting there. I think that would have been real good for the morale, just keeping that, just that type of attack going, or somewhat of an attack.
Yeah.
Do you think the game was kind of done and over with after that PK? It seemed like Charlotte kept trying, but not as hard.
Yeah, so I did want to talk about that. So up in 90, he interviewed Ashley Westwood at the end of the game and kind of, asked him about the game, like what he thought about the game. And Westwood, you said, I thought we were the better team, dominating the game. But then, once they got the PK, things kind of changed. And to me, that I feel like that shows how low the morale is on the team. If all it takes is one goal to kind of put you away. And I get it's a demoralizing goal, right? Because it's a PK and it's a soft PK. But it happened in the 33rd minute. You still have so much time in the first half, and then you've got all of the second half to make up a 1-goal deficit. And for him to say that's what changed the game and made them kind of get played out of it, I don't know. I just felt like that was super weak and just showed especially towards the last 20, 30 minutes of the game, it felt like they just had no idea how to get back into this game, had no idea what to do with the ball, how to attack, and it just felt like hearing him say that and then watching the game and just being yeah, I mean, you guys just gave up after that goal. And maybe it's the pressure of the season, it's how the results have been going. They feel like they can't get wins, but to hear that it just took 1 goal to take you guys out of it is super disheartening, and doesn't give me a lot of hope for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and you would think that it wouldn't do that to them. With Charlotte, they've came back and tied up. Well, I want to say the Colorado game, maybe it was.
We came back from 1-0 and got the lead.
Yeah, and got the lead.
And we gave it up at the end, but still.
Yeah, and we gave it up. But then, the Orlando game, I think we came back on that one.
No, that one was a 2-0 game. That was 2-0 by.
Oh, it was a 2-0?
They almost came back.
There was another one we came back on. But you would think
the Red Bulls game. We came back in time.
The Red Bulls game?
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one I meant. Yeah, yeah. So you would think it wouldn't mess with them that much. They've been there before, especially with so much time left. But going into that second half, it just seemed to... Jones was getting a lot of fouls called on him, and then we had that second goal drop, and I think that's really when it was probably over for these guys. Especially for it being that type of goal that it was.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another one of those goals that we just kind of gave away, right? I mean, Awful's header to clear it is so bad. I mean, it moves a yard. And the guy's just right there.
Yeah.
And I mean,
to set him up.
For people who don't know, I mean, Christian Benteke, he was a lethal Premier League striker for many years, and I believe he was the starter for the Netherlands team when they made a crazy good World Cup. So I mean, he is a prolific goal scorer. So I was not really surprised to see him get on the score sheet. I was hoping that he was going to get double yellowed out when he got the early yellow.
Yeah,
but
yeah, same.
I mean, when I saw him score that, I was yeah, I'm not surprised. This guy is what we want Copetti to be, really. But he is a goal scorer. I mean, he was a menace in the Premier League.
Going back to Copetti a little bit, I'm starting to wonder if just with his lack of performance, if the MLS is too much for him. Is the MLS a better league than the Argentina league that he's... Because he was the top scorer over there. Yeah. Was he not?
Yeah. I think he had 21 goals in the league.
Mm-hmm. And here he's got 2. So, is MLS really that much better, or is he just struggling to find rhythm?
Probably
you would think
a bit
it's
of
not
both.
that much better.
It's probably a bit of both, right? I think the level of talent is probably a bit better.
Right.
I mean, the guy that played for DC, O'Brien, he's on loan from Nottingham Forest, a Premier League team, and he came over, and he was interviewed, and they talked about this interview during the broadcast where he was saying a lot of people in Europe kind of talk down America, but now that I'm here, I see a lot of guys who are just as good technically as I see in Europe. It's not that much different. So maybe it is a little bit of an underrated talent level that he's getting used to, but I think it's also a system thing. It's gonna be hard to produce when you are so isolated. He's constantly playing.
He needs a second guy up there with him. like right there with him.
Yeah, because
Somebody he can play with a 1-2 ball.
exactly, because every time he receives the ball, his back is to goal, and if you're not facing goal, it's going to be really hard to score, right? And he also gets it so high up the field, so it's like he's not getting put into the best positions either. I mean, the only time he's even sniffing the ball near the goal is from a cross, and he's usually double teamed on those because we don't have any other players in the box. So I think it's a bit of both, right? It's probably,
but I guess
better defenders.
Going back to the
Good.
Sorry, I was gonna say going back to the MLS thing. I would just probably say it's just like MLS probably just gets more of a bad rep, but I mean there's some deep pockets, so I guess more talent comes over.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to because of all the salary cap rules and stuff. It's hard to just buy like a super good team, but I think a lot of the guys that are coming up from like the academy teams and stuff like that are definitely underrated. I mean, even like I think it was Philly's 15-year-olds or 16-year-olds academy that were beating like Madrid's academy at one of the local tournaments this past summer, or beginning of this year, something like that. So I think it's like some underrated talent.
Yeah, well, even DC had that one young kid came up through their academy.
Yeah,
made his debut that night and scored the final goal.
Yeah, and I mean New England had that guy, I think Noah Beck, who was a center mid. You know, he played against us, only 18 guy. And played full 90. And I think I saw online that he's getting a lot of European interest already just from this season. So, yeah, I think it's definitely, better talent than before, and then also just probably not using him the most efficient way. Definitely not playing to his strengths.
Was it Jacob Green? He's only 20 years old. Out of the U.S. Starred one game, scored one game. Pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch, I mean, that's like one of the big things I took away from watching the last couple of Crown Legacy games is like some of these young guys that are down there are really, really good. I mean, now you're starting to see Brandon Cambridge get a little bit of exposure to Charlotte FC. I mean, shoot, even Brian Romero was having a heck of a game last night, just kind of controlling the midfield, pinging balls around. So I think it's definitely like the reputation in the U.S. still isn't the best, but I think the talent has definitely improved a lot.
Yeah, I think they just have a bad rep.
Yeah. So we've been kind of talking about how it seems to be more of a tactics thing than a talent thing, because I think for the most part we do have a strong team on paper, but it just feels like every week it's kind of the same thing of poor defending, especially from counterattacks, lots of possession, but nothing, being really done with it. I mean, do you put that up to a lack of talent or just bad coaching and bad tactics? What are you, after 10 games in, how are you kind of evaluating this Charlotte team? Are they not as good as we thought, or are they just being mismanaged?
I mean, obviously they're not as good. We're back down to 14th, and what we talked about last week was, the tables are starting to be set and there's gaps starting to be drawn. If we win our next game and like I think Toronto has to lose for us to just be able to get into the playoff spot, like just barely making it.
Yeah.
But if we keep at this streak, even just only getting the draws, it's not going to be enough. I think it's the lack of talent. We don't have like a real good set left back. We don't have a real good set right winger. I mean, I get Yazviak has been on form, but like when he's not there, we don't have a sub. We don't know what to do with our. I want to say, because he's talented, Capetti, our talented striker, but we don't know how to, help him basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just missing a creative midfielder.
Yeah, so we don't seem to be having that. Soderski, that's another good one, but that he seems to be playing.
He just disappears for such large
And
portions of the game.
honestly, I just want to say it's like because of the formation.
Yeah.
I think Swiderski and Capetti would do well if they were both playing up front, and they had like Westwood behind him, or Santos.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of saw a little bit of that during the Columbus game, and they definitely like the passing between the two of them was definitely a lot better, and they created better chances. So I agree with you there. Like if find a way to get him connected more with Copetti, I think that would help a lot. But it just seems like both of them just get so isolated.
Yeah, and that's why I thought we had a better chance going up against DC, which were pretty evenly on matched team with us. But I thought it's like, okay, like we're starting to figure out who works with this formation. But then we just unfortunately due to injuries had to change it all up.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I do think a little bit of it is just Latanzio's tactics. I mean, you can just see his system is not like we're playing a very like high press system when we're on defense, and I mean teams get out of it pretty easily. You can see that in this game as well as the Columbus game. Like we press pretty high up the field, but I mean teams get out of it, and then they're on the counter, and we're spread out thin. And then too, like our attacking system again just leaves so many players just so isolated. It's hard to get Swiderski the ball and let him be like that creative playmaker. Copetti's not getting the ball in good spaces, but then also too like we talk about the talent, like guys like Mackenzie Gaines. I mean he played the full 90, right? Yeah, he played the whole game.
Gaines, yeah.
And was largely ineffective, has been largely ineffective all season. And you just see guys who have had bright moments like Cambridge, like Mello, not get involved at all. And it's just like, I mean, what? How are you basing these decisions? Like you reward some guys for good play, other guys like, you put them on for 20 minutes, they do well, and then we just never see them again.
Yeah, I mean our attack is just it's not there. It's just not there. We had, if you go back and look at the stats, we had a total of 7 shots, 1 on target, and that was from our
Burns' header,
right back,
right? Yeah.
from Burns' header. And, we got, 5 corner kicks. We still haven't even came close to scoring off of a corner kick or just any set piece at all. And then another thing is the subs, like,
yeah.
Not only is he just subbing weirdly, like, players that don't make sense coming off or even going on, but the timing of it. We saw 1 sub at the 64th minute, and that was the new guy, Justin Moran, who took out Vargas. Vargas had at least 2 shots, which was, I mean, they weren't on goal, but nobody else is shooting.
Yeah, I mean, his first one was close.
Right. And then you take out, then our next 2 subs aren't until like the game's almost over, which was the 85th minute or 81st minute, and then the 90th minute. You take out Awful, which is probably one of your better defenders, and you put in Christian Hagart. That to me doesn't make any sense. And then you take out Bronico for Diop. That's probably the only one that makes sense, but you took him out at the 90th minute. Like, what's a guy going to do at the 90th minute?
Yeah, and he kind of
just go out there and break in his new cleats.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's the thing too that's kind of where I'm talking about, like his decision making just doesn't make sense to me. Like you said, he took off Brant Bronico and put on Diop. So, Diop is I think 20 years old. So and I mean again, he did it at the 90th minute. But you trust that guy in the end. I mean, I guess the game was over at that point.
Oh yeah,
but it's like, why are you not giving Brandon Cambridge, who was also a highly, sought after rookie, at least 10 minutes? Take Gaines off. He hasn't done anything all game. You try to get at least a goal for the goal differential, for some confidence building. Let him get some experience. Just things like that. It just didn't make sense.
He's not using all the subs, and he's putting him in when the game's basically over.
Yeah,
it's like he forgets that you can even make substitutions.
Yeah.
Or honestly, just to me, from the outside looking in, it's like he doesn't trust who's on the bench.
It does feel that way, yeah. I mean, he brought up a lot of the Crown Legacy guys too. You know, Andrew Privet, Patrick Ajamang. I guess you could count Cambridge and Sobozinski, although I feel like Cambridge is a little bit more of a Charlotte player now. He's been on the bench a couple times, but yeah,
I think Armour, which we let go of last week, but like that's a guy that could have probably helped out a lot in this game,
or at least
while we got rid of
start
him.
building him for the future. I mean,
yeah,
he's your only other natural left back, and
exactly.
instead you're playing a 37-year-old right back out there.
Yeah,
and the other thing too, like Jalen Lindsey's again like just on the bench, and
there's so many options that's on the bench,
and it's just odd, right? Because he has been playing decently well. He got the assist on a Copetti goal. Like his delivery into the box has clearly gotten better, and it's just weird to just see him randomly gone. I don't really recall him playing poorly. And that's the other thing too. It's like if it feels like with Lattanzio, if you have one bad game, you're just gone for the next 4 or 5. It's just so hard to tell like how he's man managing and selecting his team, because it's very rarely felt like our best 11 have been out there. Be honest, I think like playing Lindsey and Sobozinski in the back line and having Jones play his normal defensive mid would have been a stronger team. That could have maybe gotten you a tie or something. But yeah, some of his decision making is just truly bizarre. So
yeah, we're not too happy with it. And now, like, I'm really starting to question whether he should, get another season.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. We're 10 games in, basically a third of the season through. I think you and I have both been pretty vocally about like you've got to give him more time, because a lot of people were on the fire button after like 3 games, which was bizarre.
Yeah, after game 1.
Yeah. He's had 10 games, a third of the season. I mean, where are you on your thoughts on this? I mean, it sounds like you definitely don't want to give him another season right now, but are you still with like giving him the rest of this season, or would you like to see a staffing change made?
No, I mean it stinks that we're losing, but somebody's got to hold down that 14th spot. I want to see how he does after this next transfer window. I want to see what he does. Obviously he brought in that one older guy. I forget his name, and he debuted at this game, and with the amount of time that he got, I was not too impressed.
Yeah. I mean, he's not that impressive.
But I mean, this coming transfer window,
player.
he's got to bring in some guys. He's got to make some big moves.
Yeah, I mean, Moran was definitely not brought in to be like a game winner. I think it was more of like, how can we get Shinyashiki out of here? And then once that fell through, it was like, all right, well, we still have to bring him over, but we have to give money instead. I think that was like a deal that just didn't go the way they thought it was going to go.
Yeah, I think that,
and I think he's a depth piece.
Probably was on his way out, and something with what you mentioned earlier, whatever investigation the MLS is doing, probably hindered that, and it's like, nah, he's got to stay in Charlotte because something's about to happen.
Yeah.
So we had to just give him the money and take the player.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be just someone who comes off the bench. I don't know too much. He's been,
but I don't know why you would
even
take out Vargas to put him in.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's been the most dynamic on the attack.
Yeah, if anything, take out Gaines and put him in.
To me, that's the thing that's becoming like the most evident about Lattanzio, is like he definitely has his guys, and he's gonna pick his guys over and over. Like I think Bronico is that. I think Gaines is that. Yazwiak was that, but he's kind of earned it now. Maybe that's it for now. I mean, really, because we have no one else. But it's like, I don't know. Like you're losing the game. Why not put Chris Hagart on for Bronico. Like, Hagart has been very good for Crown Legacy, especially the last game he played for them. He's shown, bright flashes of being like a good attacking midfielder, like a good number 8. Why not bring him on for Bronico a bit earlier and add that extra attacking piece and, give the guy more experience, like try to build him for the future. Just things like that. I mean, same with Sobozinski, right? Like, you've got a 20-year-old or 24-year-old center back who can play the long ball, can, has a good, technical skills and can pass the ball around well. Why not trust him in this game? Like, let him step up to the occasion. Why are you playing a guy out of depth? Like, I just can't imagine that if you're Sobozinski, right? Like, I mean, how are you feeling about that? Of like, you're just gonna play a midfielder in my, spot. Like, this would be a great opportunity for me. Like, I'm working hard in training. I'm working hard in legacy. Like, why am I not gonna get an opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, they're probably wondering like what their role is even at Charlotte. Is it just a bench warmer, like a seat filler for the roster?
Mm.
And I agree with you. Like, he needs to start developing these young guys. I mean, in actual MLS games instead of just Crown Legacy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you see other teams do it.
2-0 is practically over. You might as well put him in under high pressure moments and see how they react. You can't put him in when we're up 2-0. Like, I mean, you can, but see how they do when we're down and see if they really step up.
Yeah, or even just tell them like, hey, there's nothing to lose here. Like, just want you to go out there, get minutes, like get the feel for the game.
I wouldn't even tell them that. Just like, hey, we got to get some goals. Like, go see what you got, or it's back to the legacy. Just see how they react.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
We'll see how we do up against who we playing next.
New York City FC.
New York. Yeah. At home.
We have a.
So hopefully we have a. And I was gonna say another thing too is like, I don't even feel like DC had that much of a home advantage because I could hear our fans.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Over there on the TV.
There's a good amount of people that went up there.
Right. Yeah. So it's just disappointing for all the people that went up there just to watch that horrible loss. No.
So it's quite a busy month coming up for Charlotte FC. We've got, as we mentioned, New York City FC at home this Saturday. And then after that, another home game against Orlando. Would like to, see the sweep on them and get 2 wins. And then we play Atlanta away, Chicago at home, Nashville at home, LA away, and Philly away. I mean, that's a rough patch of games. Nashville have been pretty good. They just beat Atlanta yesterday or Saturday. Orlando hasn't looked great. Atlanta's looking good. Besides that loss to Nashville, they've been doing really well in the league. Philadelphia hasn't looked great, but I think it's because they're also in the CONCACAF Champions League, so they're getting spread out a little thin. And LA has not looked good. So, and I'm not too sure about Chicago, but I mean, New York City FC, they're going to be good. They're always good. But we did beat them last time at home, so there's some hope there. But it's going to be an interesting stretch of the schedule for sure. Do you think if results don't go our way, if things kind of keep trending downward, we'll see a coaching staff change, or do you feel like Charlotte is going to stick with him until, maybe playoffs aren't an option or what?
I mean, I would hope not. And just because, like, if you bring in a new coach, he's going to come in with a new game plan, and he's going to want a new set of, like, player list, and, Capetti might not be here next season. Not that we're solely relying on him, but it's like, okay, we just brought that guy in. Like, why would you get rid of him? Or, he might, that one move might shake up a whole lot more than what we really want.
And the team has had, like, no stability.
No, exactly, yeah, and that doesn't help our reputation at all as far as, like...
Yeah, bringing in...
Just staffing.
Yeah. I do think that's the biggest hurdle.
I don't think that Charlotte will. I don't think Charlotte will get rid of the coach. I think hopefully they just focus on talent, bringing in talent, and figuring out what to do with them.
Yeah, because I mean, I think there is a lot of talent on the team, especially the starting 11.
It certainly looked that way.
It's just like, how do you get them to play together? They just, again, like especially the second half. To me, the team just felt so individual. It didn't feel like it was 11 guys playing together. It just felt like there was 11 guys out there trying to do their thing, and it just did not work out at all.
Right.
The thing I was going to bring up, though, after this month, we'll be halfway through the season. We'll be 17 games in out of 34. I believe that my math is right on that. And then we've also got that tournament coming up in the summer, and we still have the Open Cup. Are you still kind of hoping we just focus on the Open Cup? And do you think that's enough to save Latanzio's position if he wins that, but finishes 15th?
If he wins it, for sure, yeah.
Do you think if he wins that but finishes 15th in the league, the front office will keep him?
I would think so. I mean, I don't think Charlotte would finish 15th, but I mean, it's a trophy.
Yeah.
It's the U.S. Open Cup. It's one of their tournaments.
Yeah.
I don't think they would just wave that out the window. And it would make sense. It's like, hey, listen, the MLS it's out of reach right now. Open Cup, it's more doable with what we have.
Yeah, maybe it gets them another transfer window.
Yeah, and it would help our chances more of getting some players. It's
Yeah.
okay, we won the Open Cup, but we want to go for the MLS. So, yeah. It's a lot of variables there, but
Yeah.
right now, looking at the schedule and looking at like how we're doing to just barely make playoffs, it just makes sense to focus more on the Open Cup. And Orlando won it last year.
Yep.
And we beat them last time we went up against them. Now, given that they had just come back from, I think, like a Wednesday game and played us on Saturday,
Yeah.
a lot of the criticism from fans was saying that, Orlando was not fully prepared because they were tired, blah, blah, blah. But, these guys get paid to be tired, so I don't want to hear any of that. But it's going to be a rematch, so that's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we win that and move on through.
Yeah, I mean, we play them for the Open Cup coming up soon, and then in the next knockout stage, and then we also play them at home for the league. So that'll be interesting. Gonna end up playing them 3 times this year. Would be nice to get all 3 wins. That'd be a nice little bragging right. But the thing, and why I asked was just kind of curious about your opinions on Latanzio and the staffing. But the thing I'm just most worried about is just how like little progress we've made on his like system, and how, I don't know if stubborn is the right word or hard-headed of just not adapting it at all or changing it at all.
Yeah, that worries me because we see him move the players around, but the formation stays the same.
Yeah, the formation and the tactics and the way he wants to play, like none of that has changed, and it's like, man, it's just not working, and I don't think it's because of who you have out there. I mean, a little bit has to do with who you have out there, right? It's a complex system. A lot of it has to do with timings, and where players, especially on the defensive end, and where players are making runs. But on the attacking end, it feels like it's just really one-dimensional, and he's not adapting it at all. And the attacking part of it is leading to the defensive errors as well, because we get pushed so high up and are left so vulnerable for counterattacks.
Exactly. Yeah.
And like you said, he just after 10 games he hasn't changed it at all. Like, it doesn't seem like they have changed any way of how they play at all. So that has me worried. And
if you're on the New York side, you're trying to figure out a defensive strategy against us is probably not very hard. It's most likely like, hey, they're going to start with the back and go to the side and then cross it in.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, hey, just give them.
Most of our shots don't come from the center. It's all crosses.
Yeah, I mean, that's how most teams defend against is give them the outside of the field, pack the middle, and that's it. You don't have to worry about any late runners into the box. It's usually just going to be one guy in the box, and just defend that one guy. Just
double team him. And then just basically just do what DC did. It's just, defend out, just wait him out, and then hit him with the counter.
Yeah, and hit him with the counter with players out wide, because whenever we go on the attack, our back line compacts so much because the fullbacks pinch in to play as center mids, and I mean, they just can't recover quick enough. And that's where I think the talent part is an issue, right? You just don't have these athletic enough outside backs and center backs like how you would see at a Man City play. Because they play a pretty similar system, but the level of like athleticism and technicality is just so much higher that it's a more reasonable system for them, as to where maybe that's where we're being limited is just by the talent and athleticism a little bit.
Yeah, and just containing the left side and the right side when they're coming in on those wing runs.
Yeah.
That's where it's really hurting us. Down the center is not too terrible. But just especially the left back side, we can't get that figured out. But that's because we don't really have any people to put in.
Yeah, I mean, the only left back we have is Mora, and he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're going to have to play someone out of position, whether it be Awful, Burner, Lindsay, or even put
what
Bronco
type of
out there.
predicting the lineup into New York?
I mean, I think it definitely depends on if Tulioma or Yazwiak are healthy, which I think the Yazwiak one was more serious than the Tulioma one, I believe. So
I think it was a hamstring, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw that. I think I saw Yazwiak was expected to be out longer than Tulioma was. So if Tulioma's back in, I expect him to slot back into that center back role. I expect Jones to slot back in at center defensive mid. But that is where I do have some concerns. Like I said, I think Latanzio has his guys, and Bronico is definitely one of those guys. And I could definitely see Jones losing out on his spot because of that and having Bronico play there. And it's, again, that whole thing of, like, I don't think he picks our strongest 11. Because if I see that, if I see Bronico at center defensive mid and then Swiderski and Westwood ahead of him, I'm going to freak out a little bit because Jones has been the better center defensive mid all season. I think Bronico's a better number 8, and he's better used there. But you have Swiderski and Westwood, so you got to play them. And I think that forces him to the bench. But like I said, Latanzio has his guys, so I won't be surprised if he gets the start over him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he gets let's go, then we kind of know why, right? He just kind of stuck to what he thought, and it wasn't working out. But hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. I think the front line will be interesting if Yazwiak's not healthy. Obviously I think Vargas and Copetti, you don't really have anyone else to play, but I'd like to see, Mello get some time or Cambridge, like just something different. I mean, how many minutes is Gaines going to get before like he sees that we're not getting anything out of it?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Games coming in off the bench, but maybe not starting right away.
Yeah.
I don't think he had like a super terrible game, but
I just don't think he did anything.
Yeah, he wasn't too productive.
Like he gets down the byline, but then either crosses it to no one or tries to cut back in and like runs into the defender, or we'll try to like.
And there's no options to cross it in. It's just Copetti.
Yeah. So.
And the guy's double covered.
Yep. So it'll definitely be interesting to see the lineup and see who's healthy and who's not.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if he's going to leave marks in goal or not.
Yeah, that's the other one, right? I mean, it was a 3-0 game. I don't think any of those are due to errors from Marks. I mean, like we said, he almost stopped the PK, and that could have been a total game changer.
Yeah.
And the other, I mean, the bicycle kick goal, I don't even know, like, what you do about that one. Like, I mean, there's just no way he saw that coming.
No,
And then
I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah, and then the third goal, I mean, they just played the ball like across the face of him, and
Yeah,
I mean, you got to be pretty athletic. And
those
quick
were all
to
very
cover that far
very
post.
tough shots.
Yeah,
I mean, he had some good blocks, but the ones that went in were very hard to block.
yeah. I mean,
good shots. I hate to say.
yeah. It feels like the ones that went in were all kind of like he was kind of let down by his back line.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the story with him all season long.
Yeah.
So,
but given who we got, I'm hoping he does. This is Latanzio I'm speaking on. I'm hoping he does some experimenting on that back line with Shubashinsky. I hope he gets some more minutes in.
yeah.
Same with like Melo. I want to see Melo out there again. The little bit of time that he had, he looked very good. But most of all, just either mess around with the formation and just get some subs out there like quicker and use more of them.
Yeah. The Melo thing is interesting because, like you said, when he was out there, I mean, he looked pretty good. And it looked like, oh, okay, like this is, like we have this other attacking piece that, can dribble, can cross well, good movement. And when he was not even on the bench for the Open Cup, people had asked Latanzio about that, like why it was, and he had said, it was due to fitness and form. And it's like, well, how do you expect the guy to get fitness and get in form if you're only giving him like 10 minutes of a game?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta throw him out there and take some risks, especially like with the way the season's been going.
I definitely don't want to see Jones back in the center back position.
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, I'm tired of seeing guys being played out of position. Like that's the whole reason you have a backup center back, right? Is for exactly this situation, and to not even use it just seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
Same with like the left back situation. Like, let Diop play it. Like, yeah, he's young, but he's the #1 draft pick. Like, and he was drafted as like a sophomore out of Clemson. Like, there's clearly a lot of potential there. He's been pretty good for Crown Legacy. Just see what happens. I mean, I know maybe that's not what a lot of people want to hear, but like the other stuff isn't working. Maybe he has like a big breakout, season or something. Maybe, you're just not going to know if you don't, play the guy.
Yeah. If you don't, you'll never know if you don't try.
Yep. And a lot of stuff that he has been trying isn't working, but he just keeps doing it.
It's one of those things that it could hurt or not.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather see him take some risk and it backfires than just to do the same thing again and just see what we've been seeing so far.
Yeah, because either way, he's going to get hate for it. It's like you're not playing Diop, fans are mad at you, or you play him and then he does horrible, the fans are mad at you. So either way, it's not going to go how he wants it.
Yeah. Yeah, agree.
But he could do good.
Yeah. Do you have a score prediction for this weekend's game?
Against New York, I'm hoping we just battle out another 1-0.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see.
Hopefully we have a little home advantage there. We'll see how many attendees come, how many fans come out. And
I would not be surprised if it's under 30K this weekend.
Well, I know last home game you also mentioned it was like just barely 30,000, and the attendance has been going down. But I also want to blame a little bit of that just to the weather, because it was like crazy thunder, rain most of the Saturday, and then it just kind of stopped.
Yeah, that's true. It was, yeah.
So maybe fans just didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, especially with how bad that experience is of getting locked out of the stadium.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
You gotta
see.
go stand in a parking garage or just in a random road.
Yeah. But, I mean,
Not fun.
online, I mean, fans are very social about, ticket prices right now, concession prices, and it's like, how are you, charging all this, but have, like, one of the worst teams in the league? Like, need to bring down prices. So we'll see if people kind of boycott for that reason, Like, I'm not going until the
So
team
it's
gets
like
better.
bring down prices, and justify us having a crappy team.
I guess so, yeah.
That doesn't make sense at all.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I mean, it's entertainment. You're paying for entertainment.
yeah, but if the
Whether you
entertainment's
like-
bad, you're not going to go.
Well, then, it's a risk you take.
Yeah,
It's no guaranteed win.
yeah. I do think it sucks, these salary cap rules, because I would love to see them Tepper just like spend some big bucks and be like, no, we're
Well, and if there wasn't a caps, I don't think Charlotte would be one of the big spenders.
yeah,
Like
probably
we all
not.
know that.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right. Any closing thoughts? We'll wrap this bad boy up.
No, just let them know where to find.
Alrighty. Well, if you guys enjoy the episode, don't forget to share it with a friend. That helps us grow a lot. You can also leave a review, especially if you do like a written one. That helps us climb up the Spotify and Apple charts, so we're easier to find. And if you do, we'll shout it out on the podcast. That's always fun to do. And if you want to interact with us during games or whenever any news breaks out, we're on Twitter and Instagram at offsides_CLTFC. And then we are also on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe and listen to all the episodes. But other than that, that's pretty much it. And we will see you guys next week, for better or for worse.
For the crown.
Bye.
Wow, wow, wow. You got to love that.